Hi, everyone. I'm Kenneth Craig. Thanks for joining us. R&B singer R. Kelly is now in police custody. The 52-year-old performer turned himself into Chicago police Friday night. He is being charged with 10 counts of felony sexual abuse, each of which carries with it 3 to 7 years in prison. The judge overseeing the case issued a no-bond warrant, meaning Kelly cannot leave jail until he pays the amount ordered by the judge. Kelly will likely be seen by a judge on Saturday. Chicago prosecutors convened a grand jury before issuing the indictment. Jurors heard testimony from 4 alleged victims, 3 of whom were between the ages of 13 and 17 at the time of the abuse. The new charges against Kelly came after a video surfaced reportedly showing Kelly having sex with a girl who was 14 years old at the time. I spoke with Vinoo Varghese, a criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor, about what Kelly can expect at his bond hearing Saturday.
I think, the publicity, I think the judge may have gotten caught up in it. The prosecutor made the argument that R. Kelly has significant resources and poses a risk of flight and maybe potentially danger to the community. Those arguments aren't going to hold water because he actually is turning himself in. And, he's previously stood trial. So, these arguments are not going to hold water. He'll eventually get out. The question is, how long is he going to sit in jail until this happens?
I just want to interrupt you because right now we have the first pictures of R. Kelly emerging from a black van in a blue jacket, facing a number of reporters and photographers in Chicago, live right now, turning himself in. After just a few hours ago, Kim Foxx, state attorney in Chicago, indicted the R&B singer on 10 different counts of aggravated sexual abuse. There you have it, him walking into the precinct just hours after that indictment came down. What will you be watching for in this bond hearing tomorrow? And is this going to be a lengthy event, or is this going to be rather quick?
No, I think the lawyers are going to make it lengthy because they will want to make as strong an argument for bail as possible, which will be putting up multiple homes as collateral, turning in his passport, and ensuring that that he's going to come back to court. I don't think that's an issue. That's why the issuance of this bond is really surprising.
Sometimes these bond hearings, at least what I have seen with other cases, almost turn into a mini trial of sorts in a small way if there is a big dispute over a bond. Do you expect that to play out here, where prosecutors will lay out some sort of narrative?
Yes, prosecutors will do that. They will lay out a narrative, and they will paint this as a guy who's done all these terrible things. But, the reality is that all this stuff happened, and R. Kelly knew this was coming down the road. So as soon as the state's attorney was asking for, complainants, people to come forward, he should have realized that this was coming. Apparently there was a statement from him earlier today that he was shocked, or his lawyers were shocked. I don't know why they would be shocked, because this was definitely coming. They should have been prepared for this. And so the prosecutors will lay out a narrative that he presents a risk of flight, maybe potential danger. But those arguments really are going to hold water because these are decades, close to a decade old. Some of these are more than a decade old accusations. So between that and the fact that he's previously stood trial, came to court, didn't run, it's not going to hold water, and he will get out. It's a question of when.
But in terms of more information about what exactly happened here and what led up to these charges being filed and this indictment, do you expect prosecutors to reveal much about the specifics tomorrow? You and I were talking earlier about the fact that, the state attorney came before the cameras. She read the charges, talked about dates, talked about 1, 2, 3, 4 different victims, did not take questions, but really did not elaborate at what kind of evidence they have or the circumstances surrounding these alleged sexual assaults.
Yeah, she doesn't have to. Remember, the indictment's just a piece of paper reflecting the vote of the jury, and so this is something that, to get an indictment, it doesn't require much. There's no option. There's no much. The prosecutors control the grand jury, and they secured an easy indictment. And at that point, then now it's the hard part, withstanding the scrutiny, in an adversarial system. So as far as tomorrow, they may reveal some more facts, but they really don't have to reveal much. The allegations are salacious. They are disturbing, and they'll rely on that. to keep him in as much as they can, but he doesn't pose a flight risk. These are old accusations, and he will get out. It's a question of whether he's going to spend the weekend in jail or not.
As you know, this comes a week after Michael Avenatti apparently provided new video evidence to Chicago prosecutors of the singer having sex with an underage girl. It's unclear whether or not these indictments are connected with that, or if this evidence or that video evidence was used as part of this indictment. But if in fact it is part of this indictment and makes its way to the trial, if in fact there is one, how big of a piece of evidence is that?
Well, it depends on how clear it is. Remember, the 2008 case was also based on a video. And ultimately, he prevailed because the prosecutors could not prove that it was him in the video. So it really is going to depend. Apparently, Avenatti released a statement, and here's Avenatti is definitely the porn king. Releases a statement saying that this is a VHS tape. Right then and there, it should give you some pause, because unless they converted it to digital, and then you have some issues between for authenticity. For saying how does Avenatti get a hold of this? So. I think it could be potentially a big piece of evidence, but remember, he wasn't charged in this indictment today with any child pornography counts.
You know what I've seen with other cases involving high-profile people or celebrities charged with these kind of serious crimes, they often take a long time to prosecute. They play out very slowly, and every step of the way, the defense does everything it can to slow the process down. Do you expect that to happen with what we are dealing with now with R. Kelly?
Yes, and rightfully so, because you have a situation where these charges were brought. She went out publicly, made a claim, a pitch to have more people come forward, and then there's a quick indictment. So we don't know how long this is brewing, but apparently, based on her own statements that she was disturbed by what she saw in that documentary, they got this all together in a month. That's actually quite disturbing, and I found his lawyers. I like the prospects of having to defend that, because this is we're going to argue this is a manufactured prosecution.
And is it possible that we have 4 victims associated with the charges that came down today? Is it possible that prosecutors could still be working on this case behind the scenes, and over the coming weeks, months, or even years, they could introduce more victims as part of this case?
So the answer is yes. I caution you against the use of the word victim. Someone's not a victim until they're judged a victim in a court of law, right? So if somebody's convicted, he pleads guilty, then you consider the person as a victim. Before that, they're an alleged victim. They are what we call, the legal term is a complainant, somebody who initiates a criminal complaint. So, prosecutors love to use the word victim before they know if these people are actually victims. So until there's a judgment in court, they're not victims. They may be, victims. They may be real victims, but we don't know that, because that's the process. And R. Kelly should be given the presumption of innocence, which obviously we discussed earlier. He's not going to be in the court of public opinion, and the DA is banking on the fact that they're not going to get the presumption because he was judged. There really is no reason for no bail warrant.
And how much do you think that docu-series and all of the allegations put forward in that series, and how many people were involved in that, and how much attention that got is going to affect this case moving forward?
It's going to affect it tremendously. The chief prosecutor, called for people to come forward, that she's so disturbed by that. And then, if I'm his lawyers, as I was saying, when we spoke earlier, I was saying, I'm licking my lips, looking to use this to defend them. That this is a manufactured prosecution based on a documentary that's a one-sided documentary, and for people looking to get their all these people are going to have civil suits. You got to remember that. So they're coming forward, they're putting this out, they've been coached, and they're going to have civil suits. So they're going to go after him civilly. And what a criminal prosecution does, on the criminal side, you don't have to actually prove what happened. You go straight to damages.
Vinoo Varghese, thank you for joining us.